Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to roll in. I'm just telling myself 5 minutes and 11 seconds into the recording. So we are rolling in.
Okay.
Welcome. Do you know what episode this is?
Oh, I don't.
I think it's number 12.
Well, because we have one we haven't uploaded yet.
So it's 12 or 13. I said every episode was going to start with us trying to figure out
That's
which
true.
episode it is.
That's pretty accurate. I'm
anyway.
just like finishing up some notes over here.
Well, we have a guest
We have an awesome guest that I'm very excited to.
whom I heard on the radio over the weekend.
You did? So
Yeah.
that they actually air those?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought maybe like it was something that was like,
It's a
let's
scam.
let Britt think that she has a chance.
I thought you did great.
And then I just go off into a booth and record things and they go into the nether regions
Yeah.
forever. Yeah.
No,
He
I sat in
said
Home
it.
Depot parking lot. I actually recorded it. So if you want to hear it on the radio, I have it.
No, I'm not great about listening to my own voice. So
Okay, well, you're screwed on this.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen. I'm not gonna listen. I'm gonna have someone else listen and tell me how I did. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I'll
Okay.
listen. Yeah.
You don't,
I love it. I
don't have to listen?
I don't think I ever go back and listen to ours.
oh, I do. I do. I
You do
usually
way
listen to them
more.
after they get uploaded.
I want to get it even with music. I want to get it done and I don't want to listen to it again.
You don't listen to your own songs?
I do. I listen to them so much during the recording process. So when
Yeah.
it's done, I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
great. And then I don't really need to
Let
revisit
go
it.
and let God. And you're like, I've done what I can. with
I
it.
just mainly kind of get sick of it.
Yeah,
at
that would be
point.
hard. I think that would be hard for me. Well, first of all, I was about to say if I was a musician, there's so many steps between what I am now and that, mainly being talent that would need to come into it. But also then once I was that, hearing, like having to like hear myself. Like I'm struggling even a little bit right now with the headphones. I can
Yeah.
kind of hear myself.
Yeah.
We'll get used
and
to it.
Yeah, but it's you always think you never sound the way you think you sound.
No, but
Yeah.
it makes you so much better. Like when I was teaching more, I would force my students to use the microphone and listen to
Yeah.
that and even when we'll record stuff and I'm like, I can do that way better. Like I didn't
Yeah.
realize I was doing something weird on that note or making a mistake. And then you go back and fix it. But it does take a long time to get past the like just ickiness of hearing your own
It's like
voice.
athletes watching tape, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll definitely come back and go, I want to do it again in like 6 months and I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
Every
We've had a lot of
single
guests.
person, for the most part, has reached out and said, man, I now I got a feel for it. I
Voice
get where
coaching
that's at. Yeah.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
weekly.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
It's like boot camp. Have me back on. I swear I'll be better.
That's going to be a new criteria for us. However, your name is Britt Thorson. I know you because you are the editor of Seattle Refined.
That's right.
And I have written for you guys for a long time.
Yeah.
It used
been
to
like,
be
4 years?
I think so. And I used to write a lot more for you guys. And now I'm like, I should probably send some pitches over. I haven't done anything.
You have like
too
7
much.
jobs. So I'm very aware that like I'm very much in the business of like I'll take what I can get of hers.
Well, that's very kind. I always think it's funny. People are like, oh, you write for Seattle Refined. Do you know this person? I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I never go into their offices.
know.
I just email Britt and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It makes me, so I can totally see how on like the side from, because we have a bunch of freelancers who write
Right.
for us. I would not be able to do what I do without you guys. I mean, like,
That's very nice.
hands down, you're the bulk of the content of the site. But at the same time, there's sometimes when I wish that like all of you sat like right by me
Yeah.
at the office, because I go into the office and we have a very small web team. It's usually 2 people. Right now it's just me because our assistant editor just left. We're rehiring right now. But like
So
if I
sad.
had like, 15 of you guys just like around me, I think I would just
Even for ideas, like just to
Yes.
bounce around ideas, that would be so much fun.
Yes. And I'm very much, I think I'm the person who, the idea of working from home or like working from coffee shops is at first glance really wonderful because I don't necessarily need every single.
It's
You're
so hard.
making a you're making a face.
So hard for me.
Okay.
Because I'm
See-
such a social person and
Yeah.
get energy from other people.
Yeah.
So it's especially being at home with the baby. That has been the hard. I'm like, I need that like connection. So even without like, I need the people.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So the baby doesn't count as a person.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very soon, I'm sure. Very soon.
Yes.
But anyway, I wish you guys were all sitting next to me, even though I know it's nice and easy to just have email pitches. But
Yeah.
You actually was looking through like the staff page today in anticipation of this tonight, and I think you're like one of our like only remaining original like writers.
Dang.
Like very close to original writers.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Should we tell the story about how we met?
Yes.
Because that's one of my favorites.
Yes,
We were at the Usher concert.
we were.
This was years and years ago. I don't even know why he was on tour. Like, what song was even out?
What
It
album
couldn't
would
have
that
been, yeah.
It was just making tax
No.
payments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was way too late for, that was.
It was touring because you could, probably.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, like, obviously it's funny that we both met at an Usher concert, but we both met at an Usher concert where we were working.
Yes.
Which was, I
Yes.
think, again, it's still 5 or 6 years in. I'm still shocked that was like an assignment for anyone.
Right. And because I was writing for, I think it was Seattle Music Insider, but I kind of fell into music journalism. And really, I just wanted to write about how great my friends were and how good they were. I'm like, I'll do an album review.
Yeah.
But then I started doing bigger shows. And I remember we were laughing was like, he's got to take his shirt off at some point. Like, when is he going to take his shirt off?
Yep.
And I was like, yep, I like this girl.
Yeah.
Because we were mainly just criticizing and then waiting for when, and then he did take his shirt off.
He did, yeah. And I think it was even like we were like trying to bet out like how soon. Would it be song 1? Would it be song 3?
Right. When is he going to tactfully strip off
But then
his
also,
clothing?
there's really no tact. Was there water involved?
Yes.
I feel like there was water involved in the
Of
taking
course.
off.
Yep. It was very textbook Usher. Like, no surprises, really.
I also would say I was kind of nervous as you were telling that story that you were going to add in a part that I'm like really self-conscious about.
What?
Which is that, like, that was one of the first times. We don't really cover concerts anymore as a writer. Like, I'll send a photographer to go because I mean, let's be honest, if someone's clicking through, like, the thing they're going to want to see of Usher is not like my words about Usher.
No.
They're going to want to see Usher's photo.
Yep.
So like, I'm very aware of like who's more important to have at that concert.
Right.
So, but I wasn't then. And I thought that maybe people would want to hear my words about Usher. And so
I think I read that, your article.
Yeah.
And I thought it was phenomenal.
Okay.
Like, I remember
Well, thank
it
you.
being so funny.
I'm going to go back and find that and read that tonight.
Yes, I think we should.
Anyway, but I was very, like, it was one of my first concerts that I covered, and I was so serious about it because I felt and still do feel that in this job we get to do so many really fun things.
There's a lot of cool stuff you guys get to
for
do.
work,
Yeah.
and there's a deep guilt I feel about it sometimes when I'm doing them.
Really?
And yes.
That surprises me.
When I'm doing them, because I feel that it's not counting. It's not like, if I'm enjoying it, it means it's not
Oh, you're
work.
not working. Yeah.
Yeah, or something. I mean, I'm sure there's like hours of therapy I probably need through this, or like where it stems from, whatever.
This is a good start right here. Yeah.
Yeah, this will help. Do you guys take Blue Cross Blue Shield? Or no? Okay.
Nobody does. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, that was, but I thought I was doing a zinger. You ended up with the real zinger there. Anyway, so I'm at this concert and I think I'm like, this is going to be fun. I love Usher. It's one of the reasons I said yes.
Right.
And so,
Of course,
You
as
said
did I.
yeah.
yeah.
Come
Okay,
on.
all right.
Just teeing me up over
Setting
here.
you up. Okay. But I vividly remember I had like my pad of paper and I had my
my gosh.
pen and I was like, I was actively taking notes in okay. And then Usher comes on stage, performs, stripped shirt, mid second chorus. And I was trying to be so serious about it. And I was like nervous to fully like dance and like get down because that meant I was having fun. I just said get down.
Right.
You did.
Shoot me. Can we edit that out? Do you guys do editing?
You're actually much younger than that
That
the
statement
I
may
sound,
have
that I
implied.
sound. You
Yeah.
can say that I sound. Anyways, I was trying so hard to be like legitimate. I was like pretending that my like journalism professors were watching me. Like, you know, how
Did
would
you
I?
did
like,
you have the role that you have now then?
I was assistant editor.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I might have been. I don't know.
So I mean
I don't
that
know.
sort of makes
I
sense
had
though,
the
right?
brain-
Like you're
I had the
supposed to
brain
be
that I
like
have now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're supposed to hold down the fort though.
I
and
think
like,
you were the assistant editor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that
I
would
think
make
that's
sense.
because I remember I got excited when you got promoted.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Aw.
oh, cool.
That's nice. So did I.
excited,
Yeah. Anyways, I still remember, I think about, because there was a couple other, I think I only went to a couple concerts before I realized like this is not worth like as much
Right.
as I'm personally having fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to like be shady and take advantage of the situation and go, but
On the flip side, and this whole episode won't just be about Usher stories.
It can be.
But I have seen like when I do go on, I don't know if you've experienced this, and I have gone on other events like that. The writers have become so entitled of
Yes.
like, you know, they'll put out a whole spread. And like, I can't believe it was only hors d'oeuvres.
Yes.
And what are we supposed to? And I'm
Yes.
like, you guys, this is a free hotel
Yes.
stay overnight, and they're giving us free drinks and food. Like,
Yeah.
how are you finding things to complain about with that?
I have such strong feelings about this, and this could be the entire episode. It won't, but that in and of itself is one of the main reasons why I am so like, I'm almost like trying to prove to someone when I'm at these events that like
I'm here for real.
I'm here for real. And that like, because a lot of these times, like you said, at these events, the staff on the other end, the hours that have been put into the marketing plan and who's showing up. And a lot of them, since it is comped for press, a lot of them aren't getting, I mean, they're still getting paid, but it's like, it's different. Right.
And it's a lot of startup businesses. It's not like there's these huge budgets to just hire out crews and just make sure everything's dialed in. It's a lot of friends helping friends.
Absolutely. And it's very much, I think sometimes, and again, I don't want to like paint with a broad brush here, but like there's some, I think of more of the like, you know, influencer-esque media who are now being included in like press media pitches, which I get. I think they maybe think that they're being invited like personally to these things, which sounds weird, but all that I mean in that is that this is a business to business operation.
Right.
Like this business is a transaction. Yeah. This business has invited you somewhere because they would like your business to then do something for them, right? Or to consider doing something for them. So in that, you kind of have to treat it as not just like, don't they know who I am? Like I'm, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so. It's like, no, you are the face of this brand, and maybe the brand's yourself, maybe the brand's a media company, whatever. But you both, they deserve to be at least, you be a little bit transparent about like, I'm just here for like a glass of champagne versus like, no, I'm legitimately interested in your business. I'm coming to learn more about it. I'm considering writing a story. Wow, that's so nice of you to give me that glass of champagne. It's not necessary, but thank you.
See, we always think about the follow-up. It's usually like, hey, I'm going to do an article on these guys, and like I'll take a full video rig most of the time. Yeah. And we'll have content where it'll provide something for us on a vlog or just backup B-roll for something else. But it's always kind of like, hey, if we do a banger job with this, you never know what comes down the line. Or you think about, hey, who gave me some good press? And like when someone comes here on the podcast, if we can pull out little snippets that become usable content for their business at a later date, we try to bundle all of that up. And I think in the old days, people would do, like photographers would take pictures and you pick the 12 you want, they would edit them, and then they effectively destroy the rest of them. If you don't have kids, that's one of the things I found out the hard way.
Yeah,
it was like $2,800. They did all the beautiful photos, and they show you like 300. Yeah. And the packages go up to like $7,000 if you want everything. And I was already like, this is the dumbest amount of money I've ever spent on anything. And when I said, how about this? You know, we'll take these. And then I offered her $500 for like another 10 pictures. And she was just like flat out, I'm deleting them in 30 days. And so they send you an email saying you've got 2 days left. Everything's getting deleted. Do you want to pay for it? And I remember thinking like, I'm never going back. And I've mentioned this on the podcast, which has nothing to do with that, multiple times, because that business model to me just seems dead, where she could have just said, hey, there's 2 days left. I can tell you're not going to. Send me a referral. Rather than deleting them. Yeah. You know, here's the 10 you liked. It's things like that we've always taken that approach, and that if we can over deliver, there might be something that comes back around. So I think you're taking notes feverishly and like taking it really seriously. Like it's born out of that same idea.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the added layer before, and then I'm so sorry, we can move on.
No, you're fine.
The added layer there too that that's almost not the exact flip side, but I try and be really cognizant of the fact that like Seattle Refined, we're not hard news by any means, but we are an arm of KOMO News, right? So I can't really just act like kind of a blog that might not have any oversight or might not have kind of any
consequence. Yeah,
any consequences. And also association with news means that like, not that we would be unethical if we weren't associated with KOMO News, but I try to be even more aware of like, you know, going into a PR event, and often, I'm sure they've said it to you too, but they'll ask before we've even gone in, like what our coverage is going to be. And that question always makes me a little nervous, because I understand what they're saying, and I totally understand from both their and their client standpoints. Like they would like to know, like if they're about to serve up a dinner for free to a PR, to a press person, what are they going to get? And that's valid. Also, I don't want to promise anything. Like, what if I go to the thing and it kind of sucks, or it's not a great fit with Seattle Refined? I don't want to. So then it kind of becomes a back and forth where I just try and be straight up and be like, look, here was what I was thinking that this story would be based solely on the pitch you've sent me. I'm hoping that is what I will find, but I don't feel super comfortable promising anything ahead of time until I'm there. That being said, I totally understand that you have costs. And if that doesn't work out for you, like I'll pass on this one and keep me apprised of like future media events when things change. Yeah. So you do kind of have to, like, I don't want I don't want to seem like I'm doing the job for the PR people, but I also don't want to like take advantage of a lot of the things they and their clients have to give up.
And because if you don't enjoy the event, like I've come across this before, people will invite me places and I'd be like, I have nothing good to say about it. And I don't want to just write a piece about like bashing somebody. So
Absolutely.
I just would prefer not to write anything.
Sometimes, and this has happened before, and obviously I'm not going to name names, but like Seattle Refined, we don't really bash. I mean, we'll do rants sometimes, which is like, joking. Like we have one of my producers, Jenna, she like has very strong feelings about Elf on the Shelf, that whole phenomena. And so she was just like, she wanted, okay, that's her. Yeah.
Cool.
So she had like, she wrote a rant about an elf on the shelf. And like I think you might've been the first rant about Seattle traffic. And it did really well.
That was
so
a good one. Yeah.
That was really
we
good.
just met when you did that.
Yeah. And I was very confused as I'm like, oh, I'm literally just complaining and like, and it's hard with the rants because you want to do it in a humorous, like acceptable way without just be like, this is me bitching. So it's like, but I remember being very...
Sometimes that is okay, though, especially when it's something
the traffic
like traffic.
One, it's a lightning rod for everybody. No one's going to be like, let's take it easy on traffic. It's not that bad. Everybody hates it.
Yeah, you're right. No one's in traffic.
There's someone out there that loves Elf on the Shelf. They're like, really? You're going to shit on Elf on the Shelf, guys?
So she wrote that like 3 years ago, and every kind of holiday season, I bring it back up to the top of the site and repost it. And the joke is like, all right, who's coming for Jenna this week?
Nice.
I remember... I got my first troll and you talked me through it.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
I like remember it was somebody that like emailed me and they were upset about something. And I think
that sounds like a troll.
I don't know if it was the traffic thing or whatever.
How it works, yeah.
But it was, and I was like, hey, I emailed you for some reason. I was like, I don't know if I need to like, do I respond?
Like, do you send security to my apartment?
Right.
No,
Stop. Have a cop park outside for the night.
Mainly just wanted to know like, how do you respond or like how to respond? And you were like, nope. Congratulations, you have a troll. I was like, okay, cool. Like I can take it.
Well, when Seattle Refined first started out, we were actually underneath KOMO. So we weren't, so right now we're SeattleRefined.com, but at the beginning we were KOMOnews.com/Seattle Refined. So we were essentially a section of their news site, and the news site has comments enabled on all of their, not anymore, but they did have comments enabled on all of their stories. And a large portion of my day would be going through the comments on each of our articles.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, it was like a glutton for punishment. It was like, because sometimes they were good,
There's nothing good that can come
very rarely
from that.
they were good.
Think about the people who are taking the time out of their day to make comments on a news article post. Like,
yes, exactly. And then I think like as social media started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, like gosh, even saying that out loud makes me sound like a grandmother, but as it did, I think that like the company in general decided to like, it was okay to turn comments off on the website because like people were still going to comment online or whatever. And the amount of hours of my day that freed up was just, it was beautiful. It also, part of me was like, I wonder what like Joe 99-2.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be real pissed about this one.
So let's rewind a little bit because I think, this is great. This gave some initial context, set up the relationship, but I want to talk a little bit more, not necessarily going all the way back to your origin story, but you're young. Mm-hmm. You hold a significant role in a large media publication, and you've got other things going on. But like, how do you end up here? What was your path to get to Seattle Refined in the first place?
Yeah,
the short version
was that I went to school in LA. LA was not a vibe for me. I very much missed Seattle.
Sorry, LA. Everyone's shitting.
No. I'm sorry. I have to be really careful when I say that because I have a lot of friends who are still in LA that I love to go down and visit, and I've since learned that the snippet of LA I got at school. Right. At like, at a school that was like had a lot of wealth, was very privileged. Like I was very privileged to be able to go there, but the snippet I got of LA was not LA. Right. Anyways, so that's the LA I'm talking about when I'm saying that it didn't vibe with me. So I came right back home, which is I was born and raised here, and
Mount
I did
Baker, right?
Mount Baker. Climb the mountain every morning. No, Mount Baker, the neighborhood in South Seattle. But I worked for a PR company briefly, which taught me a lot, but I missed writing. And I missed writing. Like,
were you a writing major?
I was a broadcast journalism major.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And I quickly realized that hard news, which was what I was being taught, was incredibly admirable of a gig and also not for me. Like, no, I mean, like the KOMO colleagues I work with, like they go out every single day and they're in a lot of shit every single day, and they're bringing information to people who need information. And I still strongly believe in that. I strongly believe in journalism, and I think we do great journalism at KOMO, but I don't think I could do it. And there was a couple instances that like I worked at the station at USC had a station that all journalism majors had to work at. You had to work like 2 8-hour shifts, whatever, for some semester. And I was just like assigned to go interview a roommate of a student who had passed away of a drug overdose.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember vividly standing outside her dorm room, and I could hear on the other side of the dorm room, like the roommates crying. And I was supposed to knock on the door and like ask this girl like how she felt about her roommate being. And I was just like, I can understand its value. I can understand how important this interview would be to people, both you know, the victim's family, the deceased families, and everything like that. I also don't know if I can be the like selfishly, if it
feels very intrusive into that moment to be able to like, I think it would take a special type of person to be able to put themselves in that situation and be able to handle it emotionally.
Absolutely. And I am, to this day, I'm so in awe of the people who do that, and I understand its value. But and then another big part of it, honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, is that I don't do great with being unbiased. And that's obviously very important in journalism. I guess a little maybe less important.
Well,
I wish more people that struggled with that would not be in journalism.
Do it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like they feel like their opinion is the most valued.
Yes.
I'm probably one of those people who wouldn't or shouldn't do it. Like this is a great spot for me.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I can basically talk shit in the context of like being intelligent and thoughtful on things that I am intelligent and thoughtful on, or at least I feel like I am.
Yes.
And avoid the rest. But I feel like too many people in journalism really are just trying to relay their kind of taking their position and kind of putting it out in the world.
No, I agree.
How do you feel about kind of like, for lack of a better word, like the tribal journalism that's going on right now, where you see like extreme left, extreme right, and kind of not a lot of unbiased coverage? Like, is that hard for you? Do you find yourself checking out? Are there places where you feel like you still can find kind of quality fact-giving news?
Absolutely. I think I'm a product of the internet, as we all are, especially because I sit in front of the screen all day long. And so I do a lot of the kind of like Twitter or Facebook news, where it's like a link someone has posted that grabs my attention. I also, because of what I do, KOMO News is on in the background. Like we all have desk TVs, so I always have that going. And also I feel strongly about like the local news that we do at KOMO, and I don't mean to like shill KOMO here, but I do. I mean, I've been there 5 years. They're family.
They pay your bills. Yeah.
They're family. I think they do great local journalism. And so I feel very strongly about like getting the news that I get from them on a local and regional like standpoint. I feel good about. Nationally, man, I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. It feels like the local news doesn't feel like it's under threat. I think it's the national thread that is so messy.
No, I mean, I have like some sources that I go to without fail. Like, you know, I love, I was about to say, I don't know if you know, I love podcasts, and, but I listen to, you know,
never heard of
to podcasts and, you know, my dad is one of those like, email link sender dads. So it's cute. Like, you know, like he'll like send me like an article, or he'll like, I'm on a group thread with him, my sister and I, and he'll sometimes like send a link and then it'll be like, you should read this. This is a very important time in our country. And I'm like, okay, Dad, great. Thanks. Got it. No, but he means well. And he honestly keeps me more informed than I would be if I didn't get that link.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I wish I had a really like satisfying answer for you about national news. But I think one of the reasons that like, without getting too political, that we're in the place we're in right now is because there's not an answer to that question.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Anyway, you asked for the short. Yeah, you asked for like
so you went to school at USC.
Yeah, USC. Yeah, and then I moved back to Seattle after I graduated and worked in PR for a little bit because it was a job and I needed a job, and learned a lot about just like being an actual adult with like a 9-to-5 who had to go, because it's
a big shift.
It's a really big shift, especially when you've been in college, like having fun, like whatever. And
like, what do you mean I have to work all of this
I know,
time?
and then like summer rolls around and you're like, okay, so my 3 months off start when?
Right.
And you're like, no, that actually is never going to happen for you ever again unless you want to be a teacher.
Right.
anyways, and then I got the itch to write again, and write not in press release form, but in like long format. And at the time, Fisher Communications was the company that owned KOMO, and they had an opening for a job called what was it called? It was called a creative team coordinator.
Ooh.
Which, what does that even, first,
that
like,
is
what does
as
that
vague
mean?
as it gets.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
I heard that as like, I would apply for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not only did I apply for it, but there was a woman, Christy Waite, who worked at KOMO at the time, and she very much had worked with me before, and she was kind of like, come on, apply for the job. And so I applied for the job, and I started working there. And my idea was that, like, if I'm in the same building as a communications company, it's going to be easier to move within that building.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I'm doing right now as a creative team coordinator, like maybe if there's an opening for a writer or an opening for like an entertainment, whatever, that maybe they'll look internal before they look external.
Did you have like a dream job in mind? If you could pluck a job, what would it be?
I used to always say that I wanted to be like Ellen.
Yeah.
Just like in that, although I've since backpedaled on like being on air, I do not need to be on air, like at all. Like I don't need that. No, but in that, like, you get to talk about what you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. You can have opinions about it. Mm-hmm. You can tell stories. You can learn about things.
But that's what I feel like you bring that vibe to Seattle Refined.
Well,
in a way that I didn't. I remember I kept emailing you like, is this, because I was not a journalism major. Yeah. I was a creative writing major, and so I was like doing the opinion, funny pieces, sort of. And I kept being like, is this okay? Because I kept thinking KOMO News.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you kept saying, like, it's fine. And then you remember one email, you're like, I will tell you if it's not fine. Like, stop asking me. I was like, okay.
There's no way I said that.
No. It was in a very nice way.
Yeah.
But because I was like, I don't know if this fits. Yeah. But then seeing obviously the rest of the content and what you bring, it is like light and fun and funny, and what's going on in the city, and there's cool new things that pop up, and like just the recap of kind of the lighthearted heartbeat of Seattle.
Totally. Yeah. Which is exactly what we wanted to go for. And I didn't. And I very quickly learned that, like, the whole Ellen thing was like me being very vain and being like, I want to be in front of the camera. I don't. Like, I'm fine. Like, I love writing. I'm happy to, be the person writing. So anyway, oh my gosh, you guys asked for like the shortened version of this, and I've literally somehow elongated it.
It's okay.
So I'm working as a creative team coordinator, and we get bought out by a new company, and this new company wants to try kind of having like a lifestyle brand in their markets. They have like, 120 television stations in, tons of different markets, and they want to try it. And KOMO makes the most sense because it's the largest market they had at the time, Seattle. And I literally was in the room next to the office of when the call came, and Kevin Kotlov, who I owe basically everything to, kind of like knew that I had love of writing and knew that that's what I was interested in. And it was kind of like, do you want to try this? And
how old were you at the time?
Yeah. Let's see. It would have been 23.
Wow.
23, 24.
Like, that's a huge opportunity for someone so young.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish I could say like this. I since very much feel like I've worked for what I've done, but that moment I can't chalk up to anything other than a break. Yeah, absolutely. Just being in the right place at the right time, having known the right people, all of that stuff. And there was just a team of like 3 of us. It was like, we had a photographer, I was assistant editor, we had a managing editor who kind of was like overseeing / doing sales. And we just kind of decided to basically start a lifestyle website that was, adjacent to KOMO, and KOMO could use our content if they wanted. But really it was its own thing. And it was like, we'll see how it does. And then it did better than I think anyone was expecting, which,
that's so cool.
Fun fact, we still have never had a story with more page views than the 2014 sorry, I still can't say it. Then the 2014 Pacific Northwest Annual Corgi Picnic.
Stop it.
Oh, wow. I just thought of 3 people who went, hell yeah, I know. I bet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still, every now and then, I still click through that gallery, and I always say that like a corgi is our spirit animal because it gave us some stats that were incredibly unbeatable. And it was like, if there was a time to like pick us up for another season, it was right after that corgi picnic. And it was just like, like, we just kept going from there. We leaned heavily into dogs. We leaned into like, food and drink and found some great writers to come and work with us. And then.
Yeah, because you did like a goat. There was a goat story. There was a raccoon story.
The raccoon story did so well.
I was like, I did. Yeah, some woman had a pet raccoon.
Yeah, 3.
And she like rescued them and adopted them, and they kept coming back to her. Like, she was their
We've
raccoon
got like
mother.
9.
No.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of raccoons on the deck.
But are they like cute little raccoons?
They're not afraid of us at all.
Okay.
And
I left burnt popcorn out.
And the dog didn't seem to care. And so I was trying to shoo them away, and I got them all off the back deck. This is just a couple weeks ago. And like one of them just stopped and turned around and just stood up and just kind of gave me the eye and just kind of did it. What? I grabbed a broom and I was trying to shoo him off, and he didn't care.
No.
Just stared at me. I'm like, what the hell? So I went back inside, and they just kept coming back, and it's kind of freaking us out. And so I went out, and the dog didn't seem to care. So I left the door open, and I went out. She stayed like a coward and came back in, and then she bolted after them. Oh, and they ran at first, but she caught up to them quick.
And I was feeding the baby, and I hear the most awful screeches and yelps, and I'm like, Jake, go get the dog.
She's screaming at me. I'm screaming the dogs. I'm just screaming the dog's name out into the pitch black.
This is at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, it was pure black.
Was the dog okay? Because those don't usually work out well for the dogs.
She came out all right. She was like snarling and doing all this, and then she would scream in horror and run different. And then you could hear her snarl and go after another one, and like they just kind of circled her up, I assume, and they got into it. But she came back unscathed, like physically. Eventually might have wrecked her, but
they can be
so mean,
really mean, and like violent and vicious. Yes. Like I've heard horror stories of like that's why I think it was so funny. That actually might have been the story you got trolls on, because like I very much was posting this in a way of like, look at the cute little baby raccoons.
People are like, you can't have raccoons.
I hope you're not going like that photo looks like you've zoomed in awful close.
I remember we had to do like a follow up and say something like, because something with like their vaccine. I don't even remember.
I'm
but it was
sure
like,
I had to, and that's another thing where it's like, sometimes I go like too off the deep end with like the blog style, and then I realize that like this still needs to be a little bit of journalism. So like I'll add the sentence in there that's like, if you come across a raccoon, please do not. Like, please do not like, go up and cuddle it like this article implies.
Yeah, closed course professional driver kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that was the start of Style Refined, and then like it did really well. It's just a website, in thanks to writers like Susan and a bunch of other people who contributed, and then KOMO decided to make it into a half-hour television show,
which we were on.
I've starred in.
You guys probably don't even know the amount of time, because I don't like tell you guys every time like VOs of stories are used. But
explain a VO to anyone else who doesn't know.
So basically, the TV show.
I get it, but tell everyone who's listening.
So the TV show does segments like that are like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes of a story, and then oftentimes as they're trying to like go between stories, they'll do like 30 seconds of just kind of like a voiceover where it's just maybe still photos, or you'll see it scrolling on a website, and it's our host Guard, and he's saying like, if you haven't seen on the website right now, Susan's got a great piece up, like da-da-da-da. They do it all the time.
What?
Like, pretty much every single article that has lived on Style Refined has had like a VO of some kind on our show.
I had no idea this existed.
I know, and I really, if I was better at my job, I would be like, hey, by the way, you're going to be on this and this and this. But I mean, it's I don't.
It's
so anyway,
not necessary.
yes, you guys are. I'm sure
your time is better spent
in
doing the things
section?
that you do in the comment section, replying to at whatever
Jake 69.
Gosh, why'd you turn into Jake?
No, oh my gosh, you guys, I remember the name of one. Okay, so oh my gosh, what if he's listening?
That would be amazing.
He's not.
He would complain about all of our stuff, I'm sure.
Oh wait, no, I just lost it. Oh shoot, there was a whole thing where it was like, it was something like liberal eater, it's like Terminator but liberal. It was like liberalnator. When I say it, it doesn't sound as good as I can only see it, but it was like Terminator but with the word liberal. So it's like liberalnator 89. I'm butchering this. Anyways, and he actually was getting really mean.
Oh, yeah.
And personal and like hate speechy. Okay. And so when that happened, we could go in and like block, right, and report or whatever. And so the only reason I'm laughing now is because we blocked and reported, and the next day a username with the return of the Liberal Nader popped right back up. And I was like, or how long are we gonna play this game?
Oh my gosh.
Anyways,
that's hysterical.
But yeah, that guy was mean. That guy got mean for a while, but
I have a friend and he's listening to this, and so he knows who he is. He just trolls on Facebook.
What?
I've told him multiple times, like, you are a dick, man.
Who is it? Can I know?
Rob. I've known Rob forever.
Why does he do that?
He gets off on it. He's like, he kind of like shit talks himself. He's that guy who's, people love him. He's funny. He's fun to be around. They do. He spends his time on the internet. I've reached out to him multiple times and said, dude, I cannot handle you. Like, I do not want to be associated with you. I'm thinking about deleting your account. And he's like, well, I just do it for fun. Like, that's just like what I do online.
Ew,
but the online version, I'm like, it is so gross.
Brain.
Yeah, where I literally, his stuff pops up and I immediately fly past it. And I thought, you don't realize like how gross what you do is, because it affects me.
Yeah. That would not to like constantly always be thinking about hashtag content. Yeah. But like, would he ever interview you? Like, that's a great article. Like interviewing a troll. Like, literally,
he'll do it. He'll do it. No, he would have no problem doing it.
Or like you could do sit down, do an episode with him.
Yeah.
Like, I seriously I have so many questions. Like,
Rob, can't wait to have Rob on episode number 14.
Oh my gosh. We're going to get mad. I'm going to get mad at him.
But I mean, in a way, I think there could be a way that was like,
what's their motivation?
What is the feeling that you're getting out of it? Because obviously there's some sort of gratifying feeling. Yeah. Otherwise you wouldn't be still doing it.
And you can find out how to not engage with them. Yeah. Or like give them, if they want something, move on.
Like, is it a win for him if someone then responds?
Right.
Or is it annoying to him if someone doesn't respond?
Right.
They become really good at open-ended comments that are just designed to stir shit up. It's kind of like what the claims that Russia was doing with a lot of the election stuff, where it was like they would hold one rally, they would put together a rally and put together a competing rally and have them both show up to the same spot, both groups feeling like they were somehow entitled to it. And the people that were coordinating both events didn't give a shit about either one. They just needed the frenzy and the chaos. And they're like, the skill that's involved over time. It's like writing a good headline or a good title for an article. Yeah.
I ever email it to you. You probably should retitle this better.
I know. I was like, I hope that's not part of the job. Maybe just the content is your job.
I'm so bad at titles.
You really aren't. You truly aren't.
Well, it's because half of the ones you've seen, I did.
I'm like, Jake, I need a title for this.
But just really quickly back to the troll thing. The one thing I will say about trolls that's kind of, and the whole like troll culture and the comment culture is that is what's made me a little bit, there's an aspect of that's made me feel hope for humankind.
I have that. I'm going to follow that thought in a second.
Because of what I see oftentimes happens, which is then like other do-gooder commenters or like commenters with actual hearts will then like, I don't ever need to say anything back to a troll because there are 10 commenters who will come at that troll for me sideways. And then it almost becomes like they'll take them on in the comments.
Oh, that's cool.
So it almost is like a little bit like, like good wins kind of situation because like, Liberal Nader 89 will say something cruel and then like, Carol.
But how disappointing is that person?
Like, I like this every morning, and don't you dare.
Exactly.
But how disappointing is his life if he's commenting and getting hateful and like being really, really rude? Like what that person needs is some attention and a hug. And I think what I was going to say that gives me hope is like, not to just harp on Rob, like I know him to be a very good human. If I told him tomorrow I needed $10,000 and to borrow his car, and I have not sat down at a table to have a cup of coffee with him in 5 years, but that I could have tomorrow, guaranteed. And so could any of our other friends that knew him, yet he'll say spiteful, vindictive things online to stir people up. And I just think there's something there. There's a disconnect there, but it's also like there has to be something going on with folks when they want to spend their time doing that, because it's got to be somewhat gratifying or filling some void. Otherwise you wouldn't do it.
I would be so curious as to hear some of those answers. And also, as you were saying that out loud.
And I'm probably overstating Rob's. Like there are some.
We'll find out when I do an article.
Back just
Episode
a tad.
14 is gonna we're gonna know.
We're gonna know.
But even as you were saying that actually made me more nervous and scared that there are people, like let's use Rob as an example, like people like Rob who are great. Sorry, Rob, I'm sure you're great. Actually, I'm not sure you. Who knows? I think you're great.
Jury's out.
If I need 10K, I know who to call. But like people like Rob who are like walking around and good people like you know, present
At
like
face
good
value,
people
yeah.
presenting, and then those people could be saying mean things. It's like, I like to think like when a troll's being especially mean,
He's sitting
they're
in
like
his underwear.
in the basement,
Eating
like
in the
cold
basement,
pizza.
they've got a miserable life, and they're mean people, and they're
like a
evil
troll.
to the core.
You picture a troll.
Yes, literally a troll
actual
that's
troll.
always in his mom's basement in his
Right.
underwear,
Danny
and it's
DeVito
always a
type.
him too, which is unfair because I'm sure there are many female trolls.
There's
but
a
like,
lot less.
Yeah,
There
well,
has
I
to
wasn't
be.
going to say that. You're allowed to say that. But that makes me a little nervous then that like trolls aren't all just like evil, that some of them could just be good old Robs.
I mean, we'll stay out of the political argument, but there's a lot of good people that support some really, really awful
there's a lot
stuff
of good
there
people
too,
that
as
do
well.
bad things. That's
Right.
yeah, that's valid. Yeah.
Well.
So anyway.
I have a totally different question. So kind of coming back to content, give me two scenarios. One, I am an individual who's now interested in this content and realizing that friends or friends of friends are actually curating most of this content and putting together this, and also finding out that I've been on the television show featured at the zoo.
Yep.
Okay, I went to your neighborhood and looked at Columbia City Theater.
We did.
No, but if somebody is listening and either they have a business that would like to somehow be featured, or because I tell Susan that all the time, I think she often forgets, like we'll be talking about what we do, and it's like we do so many different things. I'll use it in the context of her. Like, is she a singer-songwriter? Is she, does she give lessons to other professional musicians? Is she working with younger kids who want to become professional musicians?
What hat do you have
Is she a
on
writer?
today?
Is she? And sometimes I'm like, hey, remember, in a pinch, tell them that you work for one of the largest media companies in the world and you do, a lot of lifestyle content, which is to say that, I think if you have a cool job, people usually, that's the first thing you start with. It's really, where do you work is really how much money do you make? And, are you important? Should I keep a mental note of you in my Rolodex?
Right.
And so sometimes Susan will be juggling all of these things and forget
It's a very hard answer.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
well, it's
what do you
also
do?
like
Hard to
depending on who
say.
you're talking to, that person
Right.
might care
Totally.
more about one of the
That's
things
my
than
thing.
another thing.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to hear about cannabis? Who absolutely is dying to hear about it? And
Most people now
Yeah.
are on
Yeah.
the ladder.
Yeah, now it's your
right.
time.
Very much so. But figuring,
You've made it.
yes, to be an aging white male in the cannabis world is a.
It is the time of the aging white male, I will say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I am certainly that. So
I just have to pull away from the mic so much during this episode because it's that good.
So dialing it back, if I am an individual with a business that would like to know how to either engage with Seattle Refined or get something rolling, and my point was just that you do get a paycheck from both of you from one of the largest media companies in the world.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for this, like, oh, I do this or I work at Microsoft, like you are people that can actually benefit other businesses, other content creators, and actually make a difference in whether or not a business succeeds or not. And that's a better tool, I think, when you're at a cocktail party and talking about, who do I want to meet? Who do I want to know when I leave this room?
Well, I bet you probably get hundreds of pitches a day to come check stuff out.
Yeah, we get a lot. And again, it's a wonderful, wonderful problem to have.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself of that sometimes when I am wading through pitches.
Yeah.
But it's also on the flip side, and I've said this so many times over the last 5 years, so I'm sure I've said it to you too. But my biggest fear, the thing that like will keep me up at night sometimes, is that I'm going to run out of content to for the site. Because I mean, hypothetically, we post 3 to 4 stories a day, 7 days a week, like forever. So like that, I need things to talk about.
And I think that's a fear just with any individual content creators too. Like, just coming up, like we were talking about earlier, like documenting instead of trying to figure out like what to do.
Yes.
But especially when you have a lot of people overseeing what you're doing and having a lot of kind of, I don't want to use the word restrictions, but
but there's a process.
Yeah,
and
you can't just like literally do whatever you want at all times.
Yeah, no, there are pros and cons to it. Like the number one pro being like, I have a cushion. Like I basically have a safety blanket for, I always used to call like Seattle Refined, like, and startups are going to hate me, but like it was startup-esque, but I had like the biggest safety blanket in the world.
Right.
So it wasn't really startup-esque.
It was a startup with your parents handing you what you needed to get started.
Exactly. So not a startup, but like mentality-wise for some of it, we felt like, anyways, I'm going to get trolls for that comment. I know.
But leading into, you actually are doing a startup now.
Yes.
Because it's your own company.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. So like about a year ago, I'll back up a little bit. Like in the last 5 years of doing this at Refined, I've learned so much about media, about content, about social media, about...
And what would you define, sorry to interrupt you. What would you define, content is such a buzzword right now, and everyone says content, blah, blah, blah. How would you describe it, and what do you feel like equals good content? And I already know an answer to one of those questions because our child had fallen on his face on the couch one time.
Okay.
And I put it on my Insta story, and you said, great content. And that was probably one of my favorite comments ever.
It was fantastic content. I also immediately felt bad about I hope he was obviously okay. But,
no, we embrace him. Figuring life out one step at a time.
So when I'm talking about content, I mean purely things to put on your things.
I love it.
And if you have a website, what are you going to put on that? Mm-hmm. If you have a social media account, what are you going to put on that? It can be a video, it can be a post, all of those things are kind of by the by, but what's the story you're going to tell? And is it a story? Is it, just a sponsored thing that you're tagging people in? What are you going to put on the things that you have access to?
Right.
And I've learned, again, not and the hard thing is too, when I'm talking about it is I don't mean at all to say that I know everything. Part of the reason why I wanted to start BB Creative, which is kind of the side biz thing, is that I've learned so much, and I feel like I learned it the hard way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if I had someone who maybe could cut out some of those middle steps for me, that would have been really valuable. And then also it would just be stuff friends who were starting businesses would come to me and ask for help on social posts or hashtags or,
Absolutely.
Even and blogs, I think is where I can
TikTok?
No, don't bring up TikTok. I'm trying to show that I'm actually with it.
Demonstrate authority here.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're pulling out
her biggest weak spot.
I don't know TikTok. So if you want help with TikTok, call Susan. I can't help you. But anyway, people were asking for help with even just stuff like headline writing. I have a blog post, what do I, and those are the stuff that I churn and burn now, where it's it's second nature and it's
well, you take for granted when you really become good at something, you don't even think, you think it's easy for everyone else. And I used to say that to Susan all the time about musicians, if they would just, she's like, hey, the idea, where do you go? Do you just go down to Olympia and sign up for, I would always say how many of these musicians don't have an LLC so they can properly write off expenses and manage their business? They actually don't have a business, but they do. They have a following. They have a something they can make an imprint on every day, but no real way to monetize it. Or if they do, they're in trouble. Yeah. And I've told a backstory of a big deal we had where an artist, we put a bunch of money into it and it actually took off. Cricket Wireless spent hundreds of $millions of running an ad with our song in it, and we had to go back and oh shit, get things dialed in for that person so that they could properly write off expenses and pay out royalties and everything that was included with that. So I think there comes a time when, especially when you're really good at something or it comes naturally to you, you think that everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. And you still are doing the thing where you're well, I'm not, I don't want Microsoft to come to me to figure out how to do this, but coffee shops and places that are developing and friends of friends, but you don't realize I'll remind you, you get a paycheck from one of the largest media companies in the world and you hold a post and manage an awful lot of people. Mm-hmm. So I think for yourself, you kind of find yourself going, listen, starting a business is hard. And I'm finding that out you're finding that out as you do it, but you're kind of downplaying the fact that you do have a strong foothold in your niche.
Yeah, you're very good at it.
And you're good at it.
You.
And so now you have something you can give back to other startup businesses, and you've got pathways. The second half of the question that I posed was how would a business reach out to someone like you? But not just for Seattle Refined, but you might say, I can't. Susan does this. I can't guarantee you're going to be on Seattle Refined, but I will do a blog post on Cliff Bar.
Mm-hmm. I would say I can pitch it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
So at minimum, it's going to go this far, and at max, it could go as far and wide as it can be. And I feel like you have even more control over. Not that you would use the KOMO gig to benefit the other one.
Right.
Obviously,
Yeah.
You already established your integrity.
Well, thank you. Yes, I do try and keep them as completely separate. But that being said, I think that was one of the main reasons I did start kind of BB Creative, because I had learned so much. I had friends who were, asking me questions, and I also, selfishly, it's a business, so it's inherently selfish because you're trying to make money off something. But also, it was kind of tickling a different part of my brain that hadn't been tickled in a little bit. Yep. Was that an interesting word to use?
I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it. It made sense.
It was kind of
just kind of awakened a part of you that you're like, I didn't know this was a thing.
And it's fun to like be presented with like a company or a client or something like that, and they're coming to you and they're saying, what do you think? And like you really do have to like think about it.
Dude, and that's the entrepreneurial spirit though. That's when you get that bug, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like we come across that all the time. People come to me about like social media stuff. When I was just learning about it, when we were talking about this, I was like just reading about it and figuring out how to make it a impactful part of my career. And it was like, why are you coming to me? Like, I mean, this is what I did, but I don't, and it's kind of, when that happens again and again, you're like, oh, well, if you're starting at 0, now do X, Y, Z, because you know how to handle where they're at that stage.
But don't you find that like, even if like right away, like if I'll have a kickoff call with someone and they'll be posing all these questions and I'll be honest, I'll be like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'll think about that. And then I'll start thinking about it and I'll keep thinking about it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I think I know some things that could work.
Yeah.
And that's been the really fun part is that like, then going back and kind of writing up these, I felt like when I made my first PowerPoint, I was like, oh, like here's a little like, boop, boop, I'll just send this right off. And it's been really fun, and I've gotten more work in the kind of writing and editing side of things too, which I love because it's like a throwback to like why I am where I am and what started it all, and it's also stuff that I feel really strongly about my skills in, whereas some of the other stuff is stuff I'm still learning, like what is TikTok and blah, 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 blah.
So how would you describe BB Creative?
Yes,
like if somebody, what kind of services, why would someone come to you?
It's all buzzwordy, which I hate, and I have to figure out a way to say it that isn't just buzzwords. But basically right now it's digital, social, and content consulting. And I've been told many times before, and I'd love your help on it, that I need to have more of a niche, because right now I'm basically saying like, I probably can help you with like anything digital. Yeah. And I don't mean to sound like a big head, but if you have a blog and you need help with a blog, if you have social, if you need headline help, I do a lot of writing and editing. I've started to make social media videos, editing stuff together. Again, that is not by any means like what I'm great at, but
you have to, in the context of somebody who has no social media presence,
absolutely.
Her father's business is one for me where he's like blown away at the stuff I've been putting together.
Talk about like Facebook marketing is like, what?
It's an absolute basic. I had a new logo done for him. I had some copyright done and took a few taglines from what they make. They do a very boring thing. And he was doing mailers for a lumber wrap. They literally wrap lumber that's being shipped to like Home Depot on the back of trucks. And he was doing mailers. And I said, well, Scott, you know, there's only like 30 buyers of lumber wrap in the entire country, and you could just market directly to them and their family members to ensure you got in front of them. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
What? And his website looks like it's from the 80s. So,
he's 74.
Right. So. No, but it's all professional. Well, first of all, he's doing very well. Like his company's doing great, which is part of the reason why he's like, hey, let's explore where this can go, because they've got some proprietary products and it's a cool company. But I mean, it's like, a few hours here and there on the weekends. A lot of times when he comes over and sits with the baby on Sunday, I'm on my phone putting together some content for him, and he looks at it and he'll just look over at me like, what fucking wizardry is going on right now? Yeah. So you have to understand that, like, even though it feels like you're used to seeing major companies with multi-million-dollar and sometimes hundreds of million-dollar budgets, and you're going, well, that's not for me. But the person who's looking for your help, absolutely, you have the tools to provide what they need.
And it feels so, and I think what I also liked about it when I first started kind of thinking about doing this was that so much of, and my mom taught me this a lot, is that so much of the digital world to a lot of people is really scary. Mm-hmm. It just seems really, really hard,
overwhelming,
and really scary. Like we were talking about earlier, if I say like you should really have a website, someone is automatically thinking that means that they need to write the code for a website,
right? And
they need to know all that stuff. Or social media means you need to be an influencer, or all of this stuff. And it really is what I've liked the most has been like the kind of quote unquote smaller work with smaller clients, smaller businesses, taking the first couple steps just to show like you can do this. Like this really is okay. And also if you don't want to do this, like I can do this for you. Right. That's fine. Like if this will make you less stressed out, like for me to run a Facebook ad campaign for you, I'm happy to, even though as you guys both know, it's pretty easy.
I would almost prefer they just let us do it. Yeah. Any company that wants to do it, because Facebook is insanely helpful.
Right.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You think you're going to try and bowl a perfect game and your life is over if you don't, and you get there and you realize there are bumpers, and you literally only have to hit a pin every time you roll a ball. And if you don't, they're going to say, we're going to nudge it over here for you. We're going to bring the bumpers in even closer. And if you can't knock down pins with Facebook advertising, then the market has spoken and you don't have something to sell.
Right. So some of it is just like, being the person to do the thing that's scary to someone, which is fine.
This morning at our baby class, they were asking me, I feel like I have a client for you though, because it's this like all the teachers there are like very soft spoken and very kind.
Of course, you have to be.
Yeah. And
also, public service announcement, don't give Susan anything with treble clefs or music notes on it.
Did you blow them out of the water? Was it a music themed class
No,
today?
we start, Carter and I teach the song to my 7-year-old, like how they have to like sing song, each baby sing hello. And I'm like, they're just very serious about it. And I am not. I'm like, he's a baby. Like, which cloth do you want to choose for your snack time? I'm like, he's going to, does it matter?
He's going to throw up on it.
Right. Like, anyways.
But he wants to choose what he's going to throw up on.
It's very like baby led.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes,
they're babies. Like, I don't understand.
Even you just saying that, right?
Right? Baby led. Anyways.
I love that.
So this one in particular that I have an interesting relationship with now, I just feel like such an alien in that class. But she was saying, they were asking like what I did, and I was one of the first people there today. So I was, talked about, I'm like, oh, we're doing a podcast tonight, and and said we do a lot of work, with social media. And she was like, I am taking a video production class because I don't know anything about social media. And I was like, why start there?
That's impressive and admirable.
But like immediately I was like, that's wrong. Don't do that. There are people like you and people like that can actually help. And so I was like, well, do you have an Instagram account? And she was like, well, we're on Facebook. I was like, so maybe start with an Instagram. I can even take pictures while I'm here, and then you can post those,
Right.
But she was like, it's just so overwhelming.
Yes.
And she's obviously older, not super into social media.
Yeah.
So just understanding like there are so many people. I think just the last 2 weeks, there's probably 10 to 12 businesses that have been like, what do we do about this?
Yeah. And also like, I think I was listening to another one of your guys' podcasts on the way here because I like to do my preparation. And I think you were saying something about how so much of this is, you can self-teach a lot of this stuff. Like there's a YouTube video for pretty much, I mean, not just in this industry, but like life.
For everything.
Like anything. Like
that's why kids are so good at everything. And like all the girls, if we had the makeup tutorials that these bitches have, I mean, we looked like haggard,
it might have
crazy
been worse,
people.
though, because it would have been makeup tutorials like to get the caterpillar.
Right.
Like we'd be better at getting, we'd have a better caterpillar eyebrow.
Yeah.
Which like, that's scary for me to think about.
That's
We'd have
true.
More properly positioned sparkles.
I was just going to say the glitter.
Yeah. Did you ever have like a sticker in the corner of your eye?
Of course I did. Like the bejeweled, or like sometimes the star one.
I cannot believe.
Shame on both of you.
But no, but
we were in junior high.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, I mean, I don't know about you. But
a lot younger than me.
I was not like fashion forward. Like everyone looked to me for the trends. I was very much a follower.
Right.
And no, I was. I'm going to tell you right now. And so I know if I was wearing like jewels in the corner of my eyes, it was because
that shit was
everyone
popping.
Can I tell you my favorite outfit?
Yes.
I had two. One was jean shorts with a white Calvin Klein t-shirt.
Okay.
High Champion socks and Doc Martens.
Okay, wait, that's great.
That was like my go-to.
Yeah.
And then Calvin Klein overalls, also with Doc Martens.
Okay, so wait, those play still.
Right.
I feel like those hold up.
Old Navy anorak.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those things are like coming back now.
Yeah.
But the crop tops, all those things.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I was just having a conversation with a friend the other day and we were just like literally on our knees praying that low-rise jeans don't come back.
Oh.
Because like those were like below the hip
But that was kind of Susan's wheelhouse, I bet.
Was it? I mean,
really
like
was.
I think I wore them too, but like there's
But the whale tail. Let's leave the whale tail out of it. We cannot have a resurgence.
I just get nervous about some of this stuff. This is another thing that keeps me up at night. I'm like,
it's going to come back. Low rise jeans. Low rise is coming for you.
High rise has been so wonderful for us. I feel like it's done so many things for like the female dress code and body acceptance. Like just put up.
My favorite though was the not cargo pants, like the swishy pants that you wore really low and had all like the like Christina Aguilera wore it in one of her videos.
You wore those?
Of course I did.
Those were like what alt girls wore.
Yeah, they were
okay.
They were
all
like
right.
really cool.
With like all of like the cargo pants that had like, maybe like a random
strings.
Chain that was like tied from pocket to pocket.
It didn't have a chain, but it had like the like a bungee cord.
Okay.
Things,
Okay,
Anyways,
this might have been a different middle school situation.
So, content media.
Yes.
You know your shit.
I mean, I like to think so.
I would say that you know your shit.
That's very nice of you. Thank you. Yeah. I have a lot to learn. Literally, we spent like the first 15 minutes before we started recording about me learning what TikTok was.
It's new.
It's new, but it's new. It's not too new. Like I probably should.
But I think anyone that's coming to you doesn't need you to be an expert in TikTok yet.
Especially after this podcast. Yes, definitely. I've showed my cards. I am not your TikTok expert. No. Again, I will forward you right on along to you two.
Okay, but if somebody does want to just kind of have a sit down with you, talk about a content strategy, where do they go?
Yeah, so BB Creative Consulting. It's let me tell you about trying to get a website with like a short, catchy, like everything's taken.
Yeah.
Anyways, BB Creative Consulting is my website and my Instagram.
How'd you know about the name?
It's actually kind of a cute story. I think it's a cute story. So
we'll let you know.
Yeah. So, okay. No pressure. So my full name is Britt. It's not short for Brittany. It's full name, birth certificate, Britt. And so I inherently didn't have a lot of nicknames growing up. I had B, and then my sister called me Boo, which is always really cute. So when I was thinking about like trying to come up with a name of a business, I like didn't want like Britt Thorson because like I didn't want like the full name.
Right.
And so I knew a lot of people like tried to do nickname stuff. But again, I didn't have a lot of nicknames. It's something I've always felt a little bit like sad about that I didn't have like a nickname. I know, play me the tiniest violin in the world. Mm-hmm. And
oh, boo.
And then that was good. So, but I was thinking, I knew I wanted creative in there somewhere because I didn't have like I've said before, I do a lot of things. I offer a lot of different things. So just saying like digital or just saying social, I wanted something that was a little bit more encompassing. And so I was like, Boo Creative? No, that doesn't really work. And then I was like, Be Creative. I mean, I'm as like corny as the rest of them, but that was a little much. Right?
Right.
My best friend, not my sister, Kate.
I was like, I can't believe
Susan
I didn't know you were
so excited
sisters.
to tell this story on the podcast, how she found out that two people she likes are actually sisters and they're not.
Because we'd been at like events together and I was like, how did I never know they were sisters? And then I said, I can't believe it. And you said, we are not sisters.
Yeah, you can't believe it because it's not true. No. We're very, very close. I love that woman like crazy. Kate Knighty, we worked together at KOMO.
They do such a good job with their
They do. They
PR
really
company.
do. Yeah.
Like, they do the coolest stuff.
She's another one who like, the PR company is just like one of the 10
Context is that she runs a PR company for
sorry.
everyone else who's not Susan or Britt.
Yes, so sorry. So she's one of my best friends and she has a little girl named June who it's the first time a close friend of mine has had a kid. And I was telling you guys earlier, like I was absolutely blown away by how much I loved this kid. Aww. Like not in that like, I've hated kids until this kid. Right. I've always liked kids. I've always been a kid person. But the specific bond I felt to June and feel to June because she is Kate's daughter and I'm so close with Kate was like swept me off my feet in a way that I like was not prepared for. And
you can't say that to me. That's gonna make me cry.
No, but I mean,
too many hormones.
I promise you that it's like your friends feel that way. Ugh, like it's insane. Anyways, so June.
My friends are like Rob, it's a bunch of dicks. I mean, they don't care.
Okay,
He's trolling. He's trolling the baby pictures.
Not.
Kid's kind of fat. Looks like you, Jake, with the bald head.
Oh my God.
And none of that is true, but it's funny.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so longer story shorter, basically June started calling me BB.
Aww.
And I was just like smitten. Yeah. I was just like, oh my gosh. First of all, I've always wanted a nickname.
Oh, she gave you your first nickname.
Yeah. And then like she's called me BB. And then since then I've like forced my other friends' kids to also call me BB. So essentially like BB is the nickname that like kids 5 and under call me.
I love that.
So I was like, BB Creative kind of is like cute, but not too cutesy.
Right. Love it.
So yeah, that's where that comes from. Thanks, June.
I love that.
Yeah.
So BB Creative Consulting.
BB Creative Consulting, yeah. And so it's basically like anything that's on the internet or on your phone, I probably can help you with. Not definitely. And if I can't help you with it, I know someone like you guys or, other people who are specialized in other things that I can forward you on to.
I'm going to give my baby class lady your information.
You please do.
I'm going to.
Absolutely. I don't know. I mean,
mostly because I just don't want to have any further communication with my baby class.
So she doesn't, no one in your baby class listens to this? Is that what you're telling me?
No. That's a hard no. That is the hardest no.
Not anymore. Watch you walk into the next class and everyone's just giving this
Well, your first bit of advice should be to send them to the podcast and like start taking notes on all this story. Like, a great resource is they talk an awful lot about startups.
Let me just tell you, this is a perfect example. It was at music time and they're like, these are bubbles. This is your nose, and
makes perfect sense.
They were like, if you want any song requests, I can change some of the lyrics of songs and I just raised my hand. So like, well, Kaden prefers Drake. So if you could play that, and everyone just stared at me.
No one laughed?
Nobody
of course
laughed.
Not.
Stop.
This is what I'm saying.
But you got to read the room because
any room would find that funny. But should find that funny.
Thank you. No.
A room full of new moms who are there playing patty cake with their emphatically.
No, but they love it. There's
That's what I'm saying.
But there's one mom. There's one mom in the morning class that they mentioned something about mimosas at some event, and we both go, ooh. And I was like, I could get down with you.
Yeah.
But
a glimmer of hope.
Yes. Yeah. But I had to move to the afternoon class because of Caden's nap time.
Oh, Caden.
I was going to shit on them, but I'm afraid they're going to come listen.
I know. It's fine. It's like very awesome. Yes. It's just not my vibe.
It's good for the baby.
Yeah. It's great for the baby.
Literally, and it's been content gold.
Look, he gets 1 hour a week of time that's baby led.
Oh,
will you let him have this? Okay, all right.
But yes,
which is why they had to have snack mats and feed the kids.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I mean, that world again. I've peripherally seen it through friends with kids.
No, I feel like an alien walking among people that I'm like, shouldn't I understand this language? Because I don't, and I constantly make inappropriate jokes. And
keep
nobody
going
laughs.
though, please.
I'm going to.
Can you keep going?
I mean, just for my own amusement, I have to do it.
And then chronicle them somehow.
I know. Yeah. Well, on my Insta stories, I usually.
Yeah.
There was a since I had a new stream of babies today because I switched classes.
A new stream of babies.
There was a baby named Astrid. And I just kept thinking of the Office episode where Jan's baby's name is Astrid and they call her Astrid. And so they were singing the welcome song to all the babies and I could not contain my laughter. And that's not nice.
No.
That's not nice.
But
neither
only
is naming
you
your
knew,
kid Astrid.
Right? Only you knew that you were laughing at Astrid.
I hope so.
No, everyone else just thought you thought.
I just looked like, ha, Kaden.
I will really quickly say that, and you guys, I'm sure have heard this from everyone. I became so deeply invested in both of your Instagrams while you were in
pregnancy,
labor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, my story following and my whole shit. Actually, that's when you migrated over.
Absolutely.
I was like, what? So I got to ride her hype train a little bit.
Because I couldn't do the updates.
When you posted the slide that was like, I don't know if I can do this much longer, guys. Here's Jake's Instagram. He'll be good. I did not hesitate for a second to click and follow.
Yeah.
I was so invested.
Well, it took 500 days for me to actually.
Sometimes when I want to just smile, I still sometimes picture the story, and it wasn't Jake. It was in Jake's Instagram at this point.
Yep.
But he was doing one of these, and you were in the back going up the stairs at Bellevue Park. And you were holding on to the bar.
I was doing squats.
Yeah, you were doing squats, and you were holding on to the bar, and you were just, God bless you, documenting, and you were just working step by step, and it was like climbing Everest. And I felt like I was there with you.
Oh God.
And it also, there were a couple times during this. I mean, I would wake up and I would check. I was like, has she had the
Yeah, because it stalled out. It was labor for 2 days.
I thought we were there.
Intense.
I thought we were there. I really thought we were there because there had been a pause in both of your stories, and then a new it popped up with the little rainbow, and I was like, we're back, and I click it, and you're on a bouncing ball, and I'm like, that's not post baby. That's no, we're back. Nope. We're back home on a bouncing ball.
Reset. It was brutal.
I had contractions for far too long, and that's when I was like, I'm quitting. I'm laying down. They gave me the morphine.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm quitting. I'm not moving. I'm not having one more contraction that doesn't lead to a baby.
Yeah. Good for you. You put your foot down.
I did. Good. I was like, I'm going to because I was like, if I move enough, I didn't know you could help contractions along. And I was like, cool. Nope.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not going to help. No, you just
there's a lot more content because we had a lot of talk. Like we document pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And there was.
I can't believe how giant my body was at that point.
There were conversations
of that's not what people were like. That wasn't like
no. I know, but looking back, I'm like, oh my God.
It's your like headline, but everyone else wasn't like tuning in to see how large you were.
No, I know.
I just wanted to make sure you were aware. Sorry, keep going.
But in the context of like of documenting everything, it was like we needed to have some guidelines about
absolutely.
like where, like how much.
When do I stop?
Like there are times when she was like in the peak of struggle, where the doctor was like, "I can send you home, or you can try for 2 more hours to move contractions along, but that means you walking and fighting for this for hours." And we'd already been there for hours, and we got turned away once, and they were like, "Just stay here, but come back," and it was like. I eat beef jerky. She's like, "What did you eat? What did you eat?" I'm like, I am fucking starving. Like
I'm sorry. Are you working really hard?
You sort of are dying here, but I'm feel
hungry.
like I'm dying. And so I'm like, and I remember eating it like, this is you're gonna smell my breath from a mile away, and you're super sensitive to smell when you're pregnant. And at the same time, I'm like, I'm filming, trying to give little updates and do things. And there's a couple times.
It was so much easier than like texting everybody.
Yes.
So it got frustrating people who weren't following on social because I was like, just go to my Instagram stories. We have everything on there. Like, because I don't want to text 50 people back.
But we had set parameters around how much and what we like.
We're not going to show any like anatomy.
But are we going to keep rolling through this? Like, do you want to go? And like when she was getting the epidural, I was saying,
I said yes. I was like, go. I don't care.
All the way.
I'm that vain where I'm like, I'm going to look like garbage anyway. I don't care. And so he was like, I was like, I want people to know.
Yeah.
And then
we have what would be a killer, like a really stressful video of the whole, like an hour long episode of the whole thing. But I got the like, hey, I'm gonna need you to put that phone away.
He did during the epidural because he was like filming it, and it was a very large needle, and it hurt. That hurt pretty bad. I was like pretty.
She's like, I'm thinking about slapping that phone out of your hand.
I was like, I'm gonna need you to take that out of your hand and hold my hand because this is intense.
I was like, oh, okay. So we changed our mind.
We're done.
We're
done with this right now.
Yeah. So
put that phone away.
Yeah. Sorry, Britt.
Yeah. I know.
A little later.
There was a couple surreal moments when I was like, this is our culture now. Like the foremost being like, obviously we know each other, but like there's a whole other, I'm like, is it weird that I'm this invested?
No.
Like we'd probably met in person. This is probably like maybe our 7th time meeting in person.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm in her hospital room right now.
Right.
And I like desperately need to know, like, I would be
That's also sort of amazing.
Absolutely.
Because what's amazing is that someone like you and I, you know those details of my life, and then our friends that don't follow on social media, they miss out on so much, and they're like, "What's new?" It's like, have you not been watching?
You're like, it's in the highlight. Thank you.
It's
Do you
in
have
the
like a
highlight
birthing highlight? I actually was going to ask you that.
That's a good point.
I have like a pregnancy one and a baby one, but not like a labor one.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason why I started the podcast with my friend about all things like pregnant. We talked about childbirth in our last episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but I need to do.
I have a pretty significant group of friends that don't at all engage with social media.
Interesting.
I think it's an age thing, and
he's much older than I am.
Okay. Subtle. Okay.
But for those folks, like there are a lot of times I'll get a text saying, "Oh, did you know so and so's in town this weekend?" I'm like, yeah, I saw them.
Yes.
When they booked the ticket, I saw that. I saw them getting on the flight. They're here with so and so, they're going to swing by their niece's little birthday party, but we're going to be at the bar at 7. And he's like, "Oh, cool! I just got the text. I'll be there at 7 too." There are multiple times when you don't even realize, and I don't send pictures to those. Like I have to think, "Oh shit, the pictures of the kids." I feel like I'm constantly loading up stuff about the boys, and I've got a handful of friends who. Their parents are on social media, but they're not. And so I have to find
their parents.
Should I go to Kinko's and print out this photo to mail it to you? Because I will, but I won't remember to do it. Yeah, exactly. No, my mom has that same thing. She again, she's not very social media. She has no social media, and the internet scares her. I think she would admit that too.
Well, that's good. She's like your tester for your company.
Yeah. Well, but I don't think. I mean, she would never. Yeah, she just would never want anything to do with that. But I think she gets really, really sad sometimes when like I will find out stuff about like family news.
Right. She wants to call you and share the big news.
So and it's happened many times where she'll call me up and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, did you see?" And I was like, "Connor's engaged," and she was like, "Oh, Yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
And like, she really wanted to like have that moment.
Share it with you,
and
yeah.
like, and then I'm like, yeah, and did you see the 3 photos? And she was like, no, I just got a call from my brother. Okay. Okay. And it just,
I have a family member like that who's more old school and gets kind of like butthurt. People post something on social media before they like call and tell. I'm like, I am sorry. Like that is not the world we live in.
No, and it's not like you need to like alert the next of kin before.
Exactly.
It's not like a police investigation.
Yes. Yeah. And with how much we post, I'm like, it's very easy to figure out what's going on with us. It's fine.
just
obviously.
Just log right on.
You can be in my hospital room if you want. It's fine. I'm like, epidural's the best. Here's the room.
Yeah, Susan wanted us to do a podcast from the hot tub. I was like, I don't know.
I definitely
I'll do a
want to do a
podcast.
podcast.
I do a podcast. I just wouldn't record it.
That's didn't Scott Disick and Khloe Kardashian do podcasts in there? You guys could be like the new Scott and Khloe.
Ew, no, I hate Scott.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's, a better dad now or whatever.
I mean, I will say I laugh more at Scott than I do at anyone else on that show. But I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
He's
I understand.
This show is off the rails at this point.
I know.
If we're talking about,
like now we're just literally shooting
Jake always gets. So I never watch the Kardashians until there's a new episode on Hulu, and then I'll only watch it when like Jake is gone.
if I go to the farm or I'm out of town,
my secret like guilty pleasure.
I'll come back
and then
from
I'll
Canada.
get embarrassed like if he catches me, and I'm like, but the next episode.
But I can tell in the way she talks.
Yeah.
I get a little Kardashian.
Oh, you do.
Kardashian.
Yeah. That's
It's like
fair.
little rolls of the R. It's little things. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like smelling the
I'll be
alcohol
like,
in your
absolutely.
breath. It's like you
what
can
do you
tell.
want like for dinner? And he'll be like, you've been watching the Kardashians. I'm like, shit.
You're like, Courtney?
Yes. Yeah.
Pull my boot. And they have TikTok. My friend's obsessed with the Kardashians, and they have TikTok like voiceovers on TikTok, and they have a whole Kourtney Kardashian like compilation, and it's fantastic.
So you can have you're mouthing it, but Courtney is saying
yes.
Correct.
Yes, and people like do videos with the sunglasses and like.
Okay.
I'll send you a couple of those.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. I really gotta get on TikTok.
That's the one. I went on a girls trip with my friends, and they got so tired of me talking about TikTok. And then I was scrolling through it with my friend who is obsessed with the Kardashians in the room, and it was one of the Kourtney compilations. She was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's TikTok." And then it was like a cat video that she also loves. She was like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's TikTok.
See,
this is what I'm telling you."
It pulls you in.
Anyway,
It's like we're not even ahead of the wave anymore, but to most people it is. And I think like I want to just keep harping on it from the standpoint that in a year it'll be laughable that you were like, what's it's like we all made fun of our moms. Like, what are you on MySpace or like it's like, oh God, Mom, no, not for years. I don't even know that I don't even know that you could still get into it. But
now I go on Instagram and it seems boring to me.
Boring.
Really?
It's so static.
Oh, see, I'm not there yet.
You're not. You will be.
I know.
Because
I'm
even
going to start sending you TikTok
like
videos.
anything
Dogs,
that's
corgis.
fallen off on ours is because TikTok's taking the attention. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not as savvy as Susan's got the perfect content to load up on it.
Yeah.
I don't quite yet know how to use it for because they are really hostile against cannabis.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
most everything I post gets deleted, even if it's just like a really cool compilation video where there's a drone that flies over the farm.
Right.
Get it out of here.
So are they banning that, or are people reporting? Is
No,
it like
they're-
Instagram people
they're
reporting?
banning it.
Oh,
It's like all of the social
They're
media
really
platforms.
aggressive. Yeah. YouTube is one of the worst.
But what's insane is like to see some of the social media like influencers that I follow on Instagram that have a gazillion followers and that I kind of look up to as like as far as content creation or blogging or whatever. They go to TikTok and they don't know what to do. And so it's like so bizarre to see.
JC Dupree, like just call her out. She has a massive following on Instagram.
But she also does like she is amazing. She'll do blogs and I'll be like, well, I'm not going to spend $400 on a white button down shirt,
right.
but I like still watch all your stuff and love your stuff.
But the point is like she has so much clout on Instagram.
much.
Like it's unbelievable where it's opened up her retail store and she's making shitloads of money. But she doesn't know TikTok is foreign to her, and because of so much of the stuff that worked in Instagram, and it's a lot of it is kind of it's staged, it's superficial, it's very very expensive feeling, and TikTok is a little bit more organic, and the idea behind it, and I'm totally stealing your point here,
go for it.
but. The point is, we kind of like looked at JC Dupree's stuff and like I built the room that's over there is an Instagram room, right? It's a brick wall, it's mirrors, it's like a place to display clothes. And the whole idea was to kind of like they all were doing it in their closet. And I thought, well, let's just build a whole room where there's different areas. But the difference is JC, like, we kind of looked up to what she was doing, and it was like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of engagement.
I looked at her website and like, how does she set up her website? And then how do I make it my own? And like, but just who is she using and like what platform? And it's like $10,000 a month. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be doing that one.
But then she's also acutely aware of how to use new tech and the new wave to build an audience. So she's going hard on TikTok. And now the roles are completely reversed. Susan's crushing her numbers on TikTok. And JC Dupree, you can see her trying to figure out, what can I do to provide content on this platform and to gather audience?
Trying different stuff and like seeing kind of what goes. But it, like all these influencers that I'm like, oh my gosh, like wow, to be at their level. And just like they're amazing at creating content, but they're more like fashion or beauty focused, where I'm interested in those things, but that's not, I'm not like an expert in that.
Well, it's the same reason that I think like content creation and consulting and, you know, tips and tricks and all that stuff is as important as it is because even at Refined, so like we can do one story and the story, the basis of the story will be the same, but what it looks like when it goes on TV, what it looks like when it's on our website, what it looks like then in Instagram stories and an Instagram post and on Facebook. And it is completely different versions of the exact same story.
Right.
And it is exhausting. Like, do you know, and when we first started, I used to just like copy and paste the link and I'd post it on Facebook, post it on Twitter, and I don't know if Instagram even, but whatever. I would just like copy, paste, press, go. And it was like, that's wonderful. Now it's like, I have to rewrite a TV script because you can't just post like
if a different form for each platform.
And then it's like Facebook does better with video, so I'm going to make this into a little, short little like Animoto. And I use this subscription service called Animoto, which you guys, I'm sure, being actual video editors would hate. It's literally video editing for dummies, but it works for me because I'm a dummy. And so then I have to make a 30-second video, and it's just like.
But these are all the reasons why a business trying to figure out what they're doing is you're a great resource because you're the first stop, and there's very few people like I'm really good at Adobe Premiere and I'm good at video editing and I'll kick your ass in that category. 100%. But they're not necessarily coming to you for that fulfillment. It's being told that that's what they need or where they need to go. So kind of like just shilling back to what you're doing. Like that's why you're a great resource is because you're like a backstop for everything. It's like if I can't, the ball will stop here. Now I'm not saying, you know what I mean? Like you're able to kind of point it in the right direction.
Steps and a couple things. I'm by no means like I should not like make your movie at all. But if you have a photo gallery of high-res marketing images, I can easily turn that into a 45-second to a minute video that then will get you the video engagements and will, all that stuff.
I feel like you first started getting back into photography because you were saying like,
we couldn't use your photos.
Yeah, we need really high-res videos or photos. And so we went to a whiskey distillery, the Westland, and I was like, we need really, really good photos or we have to bring a photographer.
I bought that camera almost specifically for it over there on the shelf.
Gosh bless you guys.
That was like...
Gosh bless. I can't even.
It's fine.
I can't with myself now.
But that was like your first, I was like, hey, you're like a published photographer now.
Yeah.
Because I remember you're like, I said, I can't. Either need to get a photographer or like we need to have really great pictures. And you're like, I'll do it.
I was like, well, it's whiskey and it's photos. And
they had a really thinking good spot.
Wow, I did not edit. We didn't edit any of like. There's no post editing done. Now the idea of putting out a photo without some serious or at least a light edit would never happen.
I remember how fun that was. Like, oh, cool. Like Jake did the pictures and I wrote the article.
I actually vividly remember because I remember the photo credit and I was like, oh yeah, I get it. I look at But no, that's why I just dropped like way too much money. You have the same one. Way too much money on this phone because I'm like, I need to be able to take a little bit of a better, higher quality photo.
Yes.
Like maybe for a client, but probably also a lot for Refined.
Right.
And it's incredible. Again, I work with so many still photographers that they're like, I remember when Instagram came out, it was like, oh, you're going to throw a filter on that and that's going to be photography. And like, I totally understand that, but also like, I am.
Well, and the alternative is like a really high-end camera that you don't know how to use. You're not going to get a good photo anyway. You're much better. Like there's a lot of times, like today, we actually went out and took some photos and Susan was like, oh, I feel like the one on my phone is great. I'm like, because we didn't have to take in the fact that the sun was setting. Like it factored in all of that and gave you a great photo.
Or
so
I don't need to like upload this to Photoshop and do all the things and things. I can literally just like do it right on here and then it'll be
filter.
Exactly. So I understand, man. They're making things a lot easier for a lot of this stuff, which then I can understand makes those who have maybe spent their entire careers getting really good at this
Right.
art be like, seriously, you're going to pay a subscription fee to like, you know, be able to make a video in 30 seconds. And I'm like, yes.
But think the tech, like what you came in here and you were like, man, I can't believe like you know how to use all of this. And to me, I kind of went, well, this is just a cute setup. Like, you know, in the studio is far more sophisticated than this. And I get frustrated in the studio all the time. Where this is just some rather basic gear, but to someone that doesn't know,
there's so many buttons on that. And I the more buttons
you have.
Push a
slider for each channel.
I mean, there's sliders and buttons. And I feel like the more buttons, the more legit you are, and you seem very legit to me right now.
Well, that's half the reason.
I mean, look.
Actually,
just look.
This shit's
those are like beat
only
boppers.
plugged. We're not even using any of this. Actually, I don't want to hit that because I will make a bunch of noise. But the point is 20 years ago, this wasn't available. The studio, what we can do in the studio, in the room next door, in the basement of our house, versus what we could do 20 years ago is insane.
Yeah.
And the amount of it's just that's $1,000 camera that does what $100,000 cameras were doing 5 years ago. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
So I think like businesses like coming to you, I think probably the best analogy I have is like I was in my prime. I was a decent athlete.
Yeah.
And I was better at that point than all of my coaches were. Like if it was my coach was telling me how to do something, I couldn't hand them the ball and they couldn't do it better than I could.
Right.
But they still had the knowledge I needed how to get from what talent, little talent I did have to like squeeze more out of it. They had the tools that I needed. So it wasn't that I had any coach that could out jump me in the high jump, but I listened to a 71-year-old man who taught me how to plant my foot appropriately, you know? Yeah. And so I think for you to say like, you don't need to be the best high jumper. You don't have to have TikTok mastered because guess what? I'm not saying we have it mastered, but you certainly could put somebody in touch with somebody that wanted to take a half-hour tutorial on how to do it. So I think just, think of yourself as like the first point
Jumping
of contact and how that meets your contacts and like you said, if you need still photography done, I bet you know a lot of photographers. You know what I mean? Like you work with a publication,
another one now,
right? That works directly with actually producing television and news. Like you have plenty of contacts, and a lot of the guys that you use are freelancers anyway.
Yes.
So I think, like this is not, the point is not to show people to you and highlight your business so much so that that's all we talked about for an hour and a half. But
we also talked about Usher for quite a long time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Probably the correct amount of time.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe a little extra. But that's Usher deserves it. He worked hard through the 90s.
He needs some help.
He mentored Bieber.
And I mean, he was running around with Diddy.
I wonder, like, they haven't really been.
Yeah, I wonder if do you think there's bad blood there?
There has to be.
Do you think that's part of Justin Bieber's new YouTube series?
Oh, I'm so excited about his YouTube series.
It's out.
Is it out?
It's out.
It's just a promo for
everything is a
record.
promo. Like the whole Beats by Dre thing with Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. That's one long commercial for Beats by Dre.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift's new documentary is one long documentary. Like this, the whole thing is like, why we don't have to pretend anymore. We can just document what's going on. Literally, the documentary is the new advertisement. And anyone that doesn't get that, there's half of people listening went, no shit, Jake. Like that's what you guys do. But then there's the other half going, well, what do you mean?
Because the struggle is what's interesting. Nobody wants to see the final product anymore.
Who
and like
gives a
pretend
shit?
that they just got there in some secret way. It's like, what was the struggle? How did you get there?
Yeah.
The perfect example of that is back to TikTok. Post an amazing photo and on Instagram, and it'll get 1,000 likes. Post a tutorial of what it took to get that photo, it'll get 1 million likes. And it's the like a really banger photo of somebody, blurred with a sunset in the background. And then you see the original photo where the sunset's actually not that interesting and all of the editing process to get there.
Yeah.
And that gets so much more run because the idea, I said this a while ago, it's like one of my favorite, I'm tooting my own horn big time here, but like this is the first time in history where it's more exciting to be, rather than being the magician that fools everybody, being the one who exposes the magician to people. Like saying, this was really hard for me to get here. Like my own career. It's like this, I expected to come into this publicly traded company and just run with it. And I actually took over leadership before I was contractually supposed to, saying you're taking too long. And then I got it under my control and I was like, I'm going to push this thing we're going to be $1 billion company before we know what happens. And then you find out, oh shit, this is really, really difficult. And so the process of getting it done. So what I'm doing is just documenting that process and saying, listen, if you want to jump ship and go somewhere else, go somewhere else. That's fine. If you want out, get out. But we are still pushing forward, and I have a more locked in engagement and people looking. And right now the companies around us are crumbling.
Yeah.
Like I got probably 15 emails just the last week saying, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? Like literally everyone around us, all the Canadian companies these are multi-billion-dollar companies that
you called a lot of this.
I've been on, that's the first time I was able to go back through my Twitter feed and I went, oh shit, Susan, listen to this. And I was like, these Canadian companies are posturing revenues that they can't support. They're expanding and selling stories that require them to go out and raise hundreds of millions of dollars. To what end? And I have 6 really good posts where I was basically saying, this is dangerous. This is a slippery slope. So now my old content is new content. It is way more relevant now. And it sells the point that we have a plan. We have a strategy, and it's not like a rub their nose in it, nanny boo boo. We knew you guys were a bunch of idiots. They were doing what's really susceptible. Like, I would love for my company to be worth, $500 million right now.
Yeah.
Because we would be sitting in a completely different studio. And I know how to get there, but if it's done in a way that isn't representative of what the company's actually doing, it won't sustain and it won't last.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of calling that early. And so to see the process play out, what I'm doing is betting that if I'm honest and transparent about what we do podcasts, share little tidbits here and there, meet with people who could provide resources and talk about as much as we possibly can, that people are going to ride with me and wait until we get to there, until it's a real thing that represents the value that's being put in front of them. And so back to what you're doing, like all of the success comes from just telling people what's going on and being honest. I think the hardest thing to do is pick up a phone and call somebody and say, remember how we talked about this? And it's just not how it went. If you hide from that conversation, it's a problem. If you call somebody and you're direct, it's totally different. And that just comes back to the whole content thing. Just share your struggles. When you came in and said, man, running a real business or starting a business sucks.
Oh my gosh. And I'm like still small beans. And it's really hard. Little things that you don't, you guys, taxes. Ugh. Like what the actual, you know what? I still can't.
No, it's stupid.
But I just, it's, don't get me even started. I consider myself semi-educated and I can't figure it out to save my life.
No.
Small business and
I had to have it.
We aren't taught this.
I had to get, I made barely enough money to keep my apartment. Yeah. For a few years, and I had to get a tax guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm considering getting a tax guy.
Because I was like, I don't get it. I was like, here's this and here's this. And he's like, okay, but because I could not do it.
Why is it this hard? It should not be this hard.
When you have multiple
Nothing should be, though.
Income streams, and it wasn't like I was like making nothing. And I was like, I have this little thing, and I have this little thing, and I have this little thing. And I paid my bills with these things. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with it.
No,
and like,
it's so confusing.
Do I want health insurance? Yep. Can I afford it? Nope.
No, it's the things you don't necessarily even think about too that pop up. So I can only imagine.
But it's worth it, right?
It's worth it. It's totally worth it. Just feeling it's the same way I felt and still feel about Seattle Refined. It's like there's something about having a sense of ownership over something, right? That you put in, and it's again, I think it's a little bit of the startup kind of mentality that. It's your baby,
right?
It's you have put blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And if it succeeds, then you will reap those successes. And if it fails, you will cry those tears and
figure out a new way to make it succeed.
You have more of a connection to it when you've grown with it. Yes. And I feel that I'm in a very lucky position because I feel that for my full-time job right now. And I feel that for baby on the side too. So.
I had somebody tell me about 9 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I was struggling because we'd put together this partnership, and I said, hey, we need to hurry up and get this done. I actually went a little hard in this direction, and I have payroll coming up, and it's going to be close. And he just put his hand on my shoulder and said, hey, if you don't find yourself crying on the floor, this camera's going crazy. If you don't find yourself crying on the floor trying to figure out how you're going to cover a couple of payrolls, you haven't started a business yet.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's like, I remember the days, and they have a very successful business now, but he's like, I remember the days early on of being in tears over payroll, and that just being the beginning of my struggles. And that's really all it is. Like it's, you take that and you fight and fight and fight. I'd say we're like the cockroaches of the industry. Like we will never die because we reinvent ourselves. And the only thing we've ever dealt with is change. And like, we just keep fighting through it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with anyone that wants to start a business. And so what you're doing is taking businesses that have done a lot of that struggle and figuring out how do I round the corner, which is why I think that what you're doing, at least on the BB side, is really interesting because you're putting businesses who are kind of like, you're their Black Friday. It's like, finally, I kind of have this figured out and I have a business that's going to exist and stay. Yeah. But how can I make it better? How can I make it more effective? And that's really what you're offering. Yeah. And so I would just encourage you not to downplay at all what you have. You have tons of resources that the majority of people don't have. And I think even coming here, you had posted something on Instagram. Oh, this has kind of gotten real or whatever. You reposted something I had said. And from my perspective, like you still have 10 or 12 tools in your toolbox that I don't have access to yet. And I have lots and lots of tools. I'm really proud of the bag of tools that I've got, but you have a lot that I don't. And same with Susan. I say all the time, like, you know, the context of what you guys do and who you have access to is really what it's all about.
Yeah, totally. And I think a big part of that too, and again, one of the things that I'm trying to, it's like was one of my New Year's resolutions and something I'm trying to work on. And you guys are great at it, like individually and together, is I'm the marketing part of my own business. I'm bad at it. I'm bad at it. I don't.
You have to separate it from yourself. I feel like that's if you are a woman with integrity.
Totally. Yes. I think it's how we were taught not to draw attention to ourselves, not to brag, but no one wants.
If you have humility, like honestly, if you are a woman with humility and your like integrity is very important to you, it feels like bragging. Yeah, where it's really not at all bragging, and men don't have that issue.
It's not even.
They just
or it's
come
like,
in
it's like you're
blazing.
go-getters or like you're, aggressive or whatever like that. But every time, and I'm getting better at it, I'm doing it. And again, every time I do it, I haven't gotten backlash. Like when I repost like something from BB to my personal Instagram, like I get leads, I don't get hate. So it's like, there's a reason.
Why would you?
I know, but in my head, I feel like it's like, I feel like I'm bragging. I feel like I'm being really self-centered. I feel like I'm shilling. Like my poor friends have come here and all they want to do is see dogs and babies like I usually give them. And instead I'm trying to sell them on my New Year's deal. Like it feels, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to, I know.
This is what helped me because I struggled with that at the beginning. Yeah. And I'm more comfortable with it, like obviously being on stage, like love, but you were talking about being on talk show, like that's what you want to do. Yeah. But have you ever watched somebody doing something that they love that helps somebody else and thought, I can't believe that they're pushing themselves on me? Like flip the script of what you see content-wise, what you absorb, like, oh, that's cool. Like I should try that. And no one watching is thinking that at all.
And consider that only 15% of your people are seeing any one of those posts. The algorithm doesn't allow for them to.
Point. Yeah,
very true.
That's totally valid.
That's the woman answer and the man answer. Like you may feel like this, but really people aren't going to feel like this. And he's like, and honestly, no one's going to see it because statistically this is what happens.
Right.
Yeah. Which honestly, I need both answers. So thank you both. It's a beautiful package.
Well,
anyways, we should probably wrap up. This is
probably
that's
a great place.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. Love it.
And I just want to say to the everyone listening, the whole point of really like going back to your business and what you're doing on the side and how that helps is not just to highlight your business, but I think most of the people listening have something. We always tell them like everyone that's listening has some skill set, something they're particularly good at, whether it's fitness or working on cars or any of that. You know, I had somebody that's like a family member to me that was over yesterday and he works on cars and Susan's mom said, oh, you sound like you're handy like Jake. And I said, no, Josh is infinitely better than I am at this stuff. Like so talented in that I would sit and watch any project he's doing start to finish. And he used to be really active on his YouTube channel. And it was one of those things where like I push everybody and anyone that I ever meet that has a skill or a passion in something to go just chase it. Yeah. I'm not saying quit the job. Gary Vee says, quit your job, don't go to college and like goes hard on that. I think you can do any level of it that makes you feel comfortable. You should start by featuring what it is you're good at or what you enjoy doing. struggling or where you have resources in. And so as much as I'm saying you have the ability to do this and you're a backstop and you have resources, pretty much everybody listening has something that they're really good at that their friends and family know when they need to talk to somebody about X. There's a guy who's really good at building computers. There's a guy who's really good at coaching kids baseball. All of those things that have a resource, like finding a way to have that be something that you can kind of hang your hat on. And it, like you said, it tickles a different part, right? It just feels for me, my whole entire life is nothing but businesses that I'm absolutely in love with.
Yeah.
And so when they struggle, it's like one of our boys struggling. Like if I can help them get past that, there is not a better feeling in the whole entire world. So was it ever actually a struggle? Like it really isn't when it's yours. Our kids overcoming, an obstacle, it hurts in the moment, but when you look back and then they don't fall the next time or they figure something out, the overwhelming amount of pride and businesses, people attribute that feeling to starting a business. And it's because it really feels like a baby. It's really yours and something you've created. And so when it works, it's extremely rewarding. And when it doesn't, it actually doesn't affect you as much as you think it does. So anyway, my point is just that all the things that we talked about for an hour and 40 minutes that sound like, go to your website and sign up to utilize your services is really, there's a version of you in every single person that's listening. And I would encourage everyone to find out what that is and lean on it and not be afraid to say, oh, I'm good at this. Like, there are plenty. We all have people in our minds right now going, yeah, they are really good at that. I wonder if they would be willing to share more information.
Totally.
Yeah. That's a great point.
And that's the thing. Like, you're offering somebody a value. You're not saying just look at me just for the sake of looking at me. Like you are saying, this is what I know. This is how I can help.
Yeah.
So there's no negative side to that.
But on the flip side, this shit's not free, so go to realcbdforme.com and buy as many products as you can handle.
And the baby's crying.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.
Well, thank you so much, Britt, for being here.
Wonderful.
And awesome job.
All right, bye guys. We'll talk to you next week.